Hello and welcome to the recording of the cash sale. At the bottom right here, we've got a sample of a cash sales document. Let us quickly identify the vital information in this document. Number one, this document is a receipt, not an invoice, because cash was received. Number two, the money was received by cash, which account should be debited. Number three is the gross amount received, which is 4224. Number four is the date of the transaction. And lastly, the narration. Thank you. The next step is to identify the recording form. Assuming we were not in the accounting option, we click accounting and select the income category. And the first option is for income received. When clicked, the following form comes up. When this form comes up, the first task now is to narrow down to the VAT rate. According to the source document, it doesn't state if it's a T0 or T2, and we shall assume it is a standard VAT transaction. We can actually calculate to confirm that, but by a quick glance, we can establish that it's a standard transaction. Move to the form, click the drop-down and select 20% VAT. When that is selected, we get some more rows for recording the VAT amounts. From our source document, the first task is to identify the account which received the money, the cash account. So we come to the drop-down, find the cash account 212, click on that. Click tab to identify the income account. Now this should be the sales account, and by default, the account is already selected since it is the first account in the chart of accounts. We click tab to get into the amounts box. Now in here, we record the gross amount, which is actually debited to the cash account. So by looking at the form, the gross amount is 4,224. Type in 4224. As that amount is typed in, the net amount is immediately generated below. The VAT amount on the transaction is generated below. And if you compare with the source document, they do tally. We click tab to get to the narrations box, and that narration should be cash sales. We type cash and do the caps, cash sales. And that is immediately duplicated below. We are in the source document box, and according to the document, it is number 6. So we type the 6 in there. And next, when tab is clicked, we end up in the date box. According to the source document, the date of the transaction was 13th November. So we type 13/11/15. When tab is clicked, the date is duplicated in the boxes below. And finally, we're in the month column. Now, for this particular business, the first month was November. So we type in a 01, and as the 01 is typed in, the quarter is automatically generated. And at this stage, we are ready to insert the information onto the double entry sheet. Click insert. and we can see the information behind the scenes. When OK is clicked, the form is closed away and we are left with our recorded transaction. The date column, the date is there, the month is in there, the quarter is generated, the narration is entered, document number is there, transaction number is auto-generated, the amounts are in there. Now this column identifies transactions which should be entered in the VAT ledger. And then for the accounts column, this one identifies entries to be posted to the general ledger, and this one identifies entries that end up on the notes to accounts. We have the notes to the profit and loss account, and we have the notes to the balance sheet. Looking at these amounts here, 4224 is a positive amount because it's debited to account 212. 3520 is a negative because it's credited to sales account. 704 is a negative since it's to be credited to the sales VAT account. And this one is also negative since it's credited to sales excluding VAT account. Now, by the indication in this column, the last entry is not part of double entry, so it doesn't go to general ledger. After this recording, the next task is to update the reports. And we do that using the Control Alt F5. So that is Control Alt F5. Now, when we do it the second time, all the reports are properly updated. So we need to confirm what has been posted to the reports. We click this and we start with the general ledger. We find that 3 entries have been made, 2 credit entries and 1 debit entry. And apparently, double entry has been achieved since there is a 0 at the bottom. Next, we look at the trial balance and we find the values onto the 3 accounts. There is no double entry error since we have a 0 for the grand total. Next, we can quickly look at a profit and loss account where the turnover, net sales value is already registered. We can also quickly look at the balance sheet. Now, this is the balance sheet where the 4224 received onto the cash account is registered. Now, the 704 is owed for VAT, and the net value of these two is 3520, which agrees with the profit of 3520 on the transaction, since there are no expenses entered. We can now go back to our double entry page and scroll down to where the transaction was pasted. That's the end of the recording of a cash sale. Thank you.